Well, that wasn't too hard to find. Here it is here. On this piece here with the tail feathers, basically, the elevator and the rudder, we've already removed, I think it's piece C, and the bottom of the fuselage, which was the capital large, capital I. This other little piece left here is H. It's not labeled on the instructions, but it's pretty clear from the picture that that's actually what it is, and it logically makes sense. If you'll see what I mean in a second here. I'll just pop that out, and so what's going to happen here is that this piece, let me just check the plan here. Yeah, so this piece here will fit on here over those two edges, and then that's going to slide in here, and it basically, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a slot, a very small slot, and it fits the ends. It actually matches the ends of this piece here. This slot is basically, this is going to slot in here, and then so basically the way it'll work is that will slot in, and then the magnet will go down on here. And this is the part where we have to talk about magnets. And you know, perhaps some of you have been thinking ahead or have worked with magnets before. The Eindecker was my first experience with using magnets on a model like this, and the magnets that come in the little bag that we've got to use are the tiniest little things. I think just looking at them, they might be maybe 2 millimeters in diameter, and it's time to get a couple out because we're going to use them. So we'll do that. Let's see if we can get some out without, because I really don't want to pull out many of the other pieces that are also in this bag. They're all so very tiny, but because they're magnets, they've also held everything else together. I don't want to lose anything, and I want to make sure that the things I'm not using now stay back in the bag. So here's we have the magnets, and if I can just separate out the magnets from all the other stuff that's here, so I can cleanly get hold of a couple of those. Oh boy, without losing them, I'm going to do it over the bag. So try and sort of scrape all the other like screws and little bits of wire off the magnet so I can get at the magnets. Seriously, I'm totally worried about losing any of those little pieces. They're so essential, and on a workbench, you know, you can pretty much, well, that didn't go well. You can pretty much lose sight of a little tiny piece of wire or something. It might even not even be lost. It could be sort of hiding under something else on your workbench. But if you can't find it, it's as good as gone, right? So let's see how else I can do this without. So really, I am just going to have to peel them off a little bit at a time and try and safely put them back into the bag here, again without losing anything, because I really do need to get clean access to those. Here we go, to those magnets. Okay, well, they've made it interesting because let me use the tweezers to show you this. We've got, let me see how many, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 8 magnets here. Let me just get that right. There's 8 tiny little magnets here. But even more interesting and fun, just to make it very, very challenging, is there are 6 of them that are one size and 2 of them that are tiny little ones. So what I need to do now is, and this is important, right? I'll let you know what the answer is, but we need to figure out which magnets I'm supposed to be using now versus which magnets, you know, where those 2 small ones go. I suppose that's the most important thing. We need to use the right magnets for the right spot. You know, I'd be very tempted to just go straight away and say, well, I think that hole that I'm working with. For the hatch here, looks about the right size for that larger magnet. But well, guess what? Actually, it doesn't. It doesn't really fit that larger magnet. So I think I'm gonna. Maybe it's becoming obvious. Yeah, it's that smaller magnet. So the smaller magnets, that's it. So I guess what we'll have to do, what we have to do now is carefully, very carefully, again because we don't want to lose anything. The magnets themselves hold together. They're very tough. They hold together tightly. But when they click apart, it can be easy for something to just fly away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate out those two and then put the rest back in the bag and seal the bag so that I don't have any fun with any of those other pieces flying away. And so now this is the last and most important piece. And here's the other thing you need to know about magnets, or remind yourself of stuff from school, is magnets have a north and a south pole. One end is north, one end is south. When you put two magnets together, and what we want to have is the two magnets that will join themselves together. If you put a north to a north, they'll actually repel and they'll push themselves apart. So if we took a north and put it on that little tag here, and then we put another north and we put that hatch in the wrong way up, it's actually not going to close, it's going to push itself open. So it turns out it's got to be, you've got to make sure that you get these two things the right way around. Oh no, okay, so you be very careful about these things. So the trick here is, and this is, I don't know, maybe there's another way to do it, but this is what I have figured out, is that what we need to know is which magnets which ends of those two tiny little round magnets need to go together and which ones need to go apart. Now while they're together, we know which is right. We know that they've attracted each other. They're locked in, and while they're together, they're good. But we're going to have to take them apart, put them into their little pieces the right way up, and then end up with, when we put it back together, that the magnet's in the right way, or not, and not that we've put it in upside down and we end up with a hatch that flies off instead of clicking into place. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a tiny little Sharpie pen here and I'm going to mark the outside. I'm just going to put an X on it. It doesn't really even matter whether it's north or whether it's south. All that matters is it's not the same as the other one. So if I mark the outside here, then when I put the pieces into the model, I mark the outside. I'll make sure that I put the marked side in the holder here down, and I'll make sure when I put the door in that I put the marked side, which I'm going to mark on here, and I'll put that up. And now I can safely separate out those two magnets and pop them into place, and I will know where they need to end up. So I'm actually going to do that first before anything else, which is to put the magnets into these pieces before I put everything together. Part of that is because, again, I've learned from experience, see this little piece here, if I use my tweezers and glue that into place, and then I try to put the magnet in while it's over there, it's really going to be tricky. It's so much simpler to put that piece down here, pop the magnet into place, and in fact I can even do that for the other half of the magnet right now. Slide that into place, and once I've got it in place, then I can pull off the other half, knowing that I'm not going to lose that one little piece because it's already where it's supposed to be. Right, so that's going to drop in, and so what's going on now is it's not quite fitting into the little hole. Now I can do the other end on that little hole. Maybe that's a simpler way to do that. No, I don't want to do that. I am actually going to I'm going to want to clear this out. I can do that. I do want to clear the, so basically I'm just going to have to again scrape out the jaggies on the hole, and if you know, when you get to it yourself, you'll see that there's not a lot of extra space there. That that little hole runs very close to the edge of the bracket, and so you do want to be careful. Don't overdo it. And remember, all you're just trying to do is just smooth out that that cut, which is very precise with the laser and has been cut carefully. So it's probably very close to right. And all you're doing is just scraping away the little bit of the wood to make sure that that will slide cleanly into place, which now it does, and that's great. So what I will do is I'm actually going to carefully glue that using my least favorite glue, the CA super glue, and I'm going to glue that magnet into place from the other side of this bracket. So if I glue it from the other side, then it will, oops, it popped out, you see, that's not good. If I glue it from the other side, then I should be able to pop this side off fairly cleanly. Maybe I am just going to have to try and slide that off. It's not going to work if I do it any other way, so I'm going to pop that piece here. So now I've got, okay, that's perfect. Now I've got my two pieces. And do I have my markings, or I rub them off with my finger? Okay, so I have rubbed them off with my finger. We're going to have to redo those markings. I'm going to glue it first before I do that. So I can glue them into place. And here it's just the finest drop of CA glue. It's just going to be just enough.